In this video, I'll be teaching a chapter from A Course in Miracles. My name is Kaylee. I'm a clinical hypnotist and student and teacher of A Course in Miracles. I specialize in hypnosis for soul remembrance, remembering that we are one with all that is. If you enjoy today's discussion, this is just a clip, a moment from our live discussion that I have on a bi-monthly basis in my membership, Heaven on Earth Academy. That is not only a space for us to study the premises of A Course in Miracles unity consciousness, but a space where I guide you on a journey of soul remembrance, training your subconscious mind through hypnosis, advanced meditation, and breathwork to identify, to remember who you really are. Unity consciousness, one with all that is. I hope to see you inside of our membership, see you on the live calls, see you in the community. Otherwise, enjoy this video, and I'll be posting on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Before we get into it, though, I would like to do a drop-in to really ground us into this space. Again, Alyssa, if you're still driving, don't close your eyes. But Kate, you can go ahead and begin to find a comfortable position and then rest your eyes. Oh, she's just arriving again. And then rest your eyes to a close. There you are.
Sorry, my headphone kicked me out.
Oh,
I
no
was
worries.
like, ah, gone.
I thought you just turned your camera off. I was like, where did she go? Okay, perfect. We're gonna do a drop-in before we get into the lesson. And so wherever you're at is perfect. Go ahead and begin to rest your eyes to a close and find a comfortable position. And then whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and take an inhale in through your nose. And an audible exhale out of your mouth. Another slow and easy inhale all the way in. Once you get to the top, letting it go. Noticing if you can relax your body even more. Inhaling all the way in. Exhaling, letting it go. And beginning to notice your sit bones of your body against that surface beneath you. And as you notice the connection between your body and that surface, can you also allow your body to relax into that surface? And as your body continues to relax, your mind does too. And now with your focused attention, taking a moment to draw in your thoughts as if your thoughts about the future, the past, and any other thing that you may think of can be drawn in, pulling this energy inwards. Anything that was out there coming now in here. And focusing on that space in the center of your head. And as you focus on this space in the center of your head, just allowing everything else to fall away. And now with your eyes closed down just as they are already, go ahead and look at that space in the center of your head, rolling your eyes up and back as if you're looking right at it. Flickering of the eyelids here is a sign or a signal that you're entering into a deeper reprogramming state where it is safe and you are safe to release old programs, to remember your unity, your oneness with all that is, your interconnectedness, And the more that you remember this, the more you step into your power, take action on what your soul came here to do with confidence, ease, and certainty. Taking a slow and easy inhale all the way in, belly, chest. On the exhale, letting go and letting everything relax 5 times deeper, including those eyelids. Relaxing, letting go. And I'd like you to connect to that part of you, that aliveness within you. Not the part of you that tells stories about what you're experiencing, but the experience itself. Part of you that feels, that is. And as you connect to this aliveness within you, you begin to feel the aliveness around you in the room that you're in, expanding farther out now to the aliveness outside of your home, that's in the trees, it's in the sunshine, water, wind, in the people and the animals. Now returning back to that aliveness within you, I'd like you to imagine it's almost like arms reaching out from the aliveness within you to connect with all of the aliveness outside of you, around you, outside of your home. And while there are different forms, there's also a deep sameness here. That aliveness or consciousness or energy that runs through everything. Right? Notice the stillness, the openness, or the infiniteness of this energy, this presence. This aliveness within you has always been and will always be. It is your present awareness. While the forms of your life are changing, the challenges of your life is changing. This presence and awareness is always there. And in any moment where your life feels uncertain, scary, unknown, or challenging, you can return to this presence, to the only moment that ever exists, to the eternal now, to your soul, your awareness. And when you do, something miraculous happens. It's not necessarily that challenges go away or disappear, but it's that you can move through those challenges with a confident certainty because you remember that you are connected to the infinite. And now I'd like you to imagine that challenging circumstance that's arising in your life right now. But now you have the power of the infinite of God, of all that is within you. And what would it be like to move through this challenging situation with confident expectation that it is going to work out perfectly? Being guided by a powerful source that moves beyond your body alone. Seeing yourself move through the entire situation, coming out on the other side, not just stronger, but a more authentic expression of your soul. Because you remembered your connectedness with all that is. You allowed yourself to be guided, to be held, and to trust. Breathing in that power, that essence of the present moment deep into your heart. On the exhale, surrender deeper into it. One more, just like that, all the way in. Letting it go. In your waking state, you'll find it easier and easier to trust and surrender to what is. And every time you do, you strengthen your power, your soul's power, your essence, what it is that you are here to do and who it is that you are here to be. Actions will become clearer. Confidence will continue to rise. And in just a moment, you'll begin to blink your eyes open. And when you'll do, you'll feel fully ready, fully alive to receive the wisdom of A Course in Miracles, to let it shift your perception towards one of love, and keep allowing miracles into your life. Whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and blink your eyes open and come all the way back. Alrighty. We're just going to go ahead and get right into the chapter so we can have some time to discuss at the end of this call. Again, I mentioned before, this chapter is chapter 10, and it is called God and the Ego. The way that I like to do this is I will read sections and then we'll talk about them, what it is they actually mean and how it applies into reality. The first section that I have written, also I will drop them in the chat as we go. First one that I have is, there are no beginnings and no endings in God, whose universe is himself. Can you exclude yourself from the universe or from God, who is the universe? This touches exactly what we just went into in that hypnosis drop-in, which is the infinite expansiveness of God, of source, of presence, of being, whatever words that you like to use to describe this. There are no beginnings and no endings in God, whose universe is himself. Can you exclude yourself from the universe or from God, who is the universe? This really points to how often we as humans like to think that we're doing it on our own, that all the problems that we have are something that we have to fix entirely and aren't a part of this divine plan that has been orchestrating from the beginning of time until the end of time. Um, this I wanted to start with this question specifically. Can you exclude yourself from the universe or from God, who is the universe? To really point us in the direction of noticing like how often in our lives are we making challenges a problem by saying I have to figure all of this out by myself, and it's me. God is doing something else, God is whatever, but this is my problem that I have to solve here. Um, and I want to invite in for a moment, like noticing where in your life are you creating a problem out of a challenge right now and making it something that you don't think that God, source, the universe is working through you. Um, you can take a moment to reflect on this now, or write it down for later. Um, kind of tinker with that as we move through today's call. Alrighty, this next one says, to give without limit is God's will for you, because only this can bring you the joy which is His, and which He will share, and which He wills to share with you. So this actually was like my inspiration for the giving effect. It says again, to give without limit is God's will for you, because only this can bring you the joy which is His, and which He wills to share with you. This is again pointing to this idea that heaven is entered two by two, heaven being perceiving reality, perceiving the truth of what God, source, universe is showing us in this life, which is that it is love. And to give without limit then means giving, like I talked about how yesterday that was like so nourishing for my soul to be able to give to a friend. Giving without limit is not just like giving gifts and giving love. It's also giving forgiveness and being willing to see that there is no sin, and that every time someone makes a mistake or says something that hurts you or shows up and acts in a specific way, giving means seeing that person as the soul, the child of God in which they are. It says, only this can bring you the joy which is His, and which He wills to share with you. The thing about A Course in Miracles that really stands out to me and that like blew my mind is that describes us as like we're meant to experience joy all of the time. And at first, I was like, that's not true. That's not real. That's not how humans live. Like humans go through suffering, and like that's just the way it is. But truthfully, after having read it for this amount of time, I'm really starting to understand that when we train our minds to give in this way, giving love, sharing our gifts, forgiving others, it's not that challenges don't happen, they do. But now we're not making the challenges a problem, meaning something happens and it's like, oh, okay, what's the next step? There's no problem at all, which means that like we can experience joy all of the time. And I don't want to be like delusional here and say like, yeah, you just read this book and like you'll be joyful 100% of the time, because I think it's a life's journey. But what I want to note is like we've been given a framework for making it possible. Like it actually is possible to experience joy all the time. And again, like the way that A Course in Miracles and kind of some other um, older languaging talks about joy is it's that it's not the way that kind of like the Western mind would perceive joy as like happiness, like happy and ecstasy. It's a deep joy of being, and it's just essentially being present. And so it's not again necessarily that like you don't experience like the sadness and the grief and all of the emotions, but there is a deep joy of being throughout it all. And and this sentence is pointing to that of like that is what God wills for us. God wants us to experience that joy all the time. And the only thing we have to do to receive that is to give it, which is essentially being present and being willing to forgive and also give more freely. I think something that I notice within myself, and I think that a lot of people can probably relate to, is like I do this thing where I'm like, it would be nice to like, whatever, do something for someone, like wash the dishes for them or like, clean their car for them. But I'm like, oh, I don't have enough energy for that. Like, I don't have the capacity to give X and Y and Z for this other person because like I haven't even done this in my own life. But what I'm learning from the giving effect is actually that like when I intentionally give, not because I'm trying to get something, not because I want them to perceive me in any kind of way, because those are energy draining giving. When I give intentionally, even when I don't have that much energy to do so, the energy comes back to me. I'm actually energized by giving, which is this whole idea that I always talk about of like when you train your neural pathways to see the world through love and giving, in order to give, you have to understand that you have it within yourself. And so giving, even when you don't feel like you have the capacity or enough energy, um, from a full heart, immediately energizes you because it tells you, look, see, you had that within you the whole time. You actually had the strength within you the whole time.
I would like to add something if it's okay for you, or are you in the flow right now?
Honestly, if you can, just like take notes on it and then we can talk about it
Okay,
afterwards, just because it makes it easier for me to like I post this on YouTube and then I'll do a whole thing. Yeah.
okay,
But take write it down and then let's talk about it after.
all right.
Sweet. Sweet. Okay. Perfect. That actually is like leads directly into the next one, which says, give then without limit and without end to learn how much he has given you. And again, like I think that this was actually like one of the chapters that really shaped my perspective and made me want to try out the giving effect because I was like, wait a second. I actually don't think life is about getting at all. I don't think it's about getting what you want. I don't think it's about manifesting all the things that you could possibly desire. I think those are cool side effects, but I think that the whole point of it is to give, to understand that you already have it all. Because when we give without limit and without end, we understand that we are souls without limits and without ends, which ultimately reminds us that we can be at peace, that we don't have to force or hustle or make anything happen. As we give, we remember that we have it ourselves. And this next one says, you are afraid to know God's will because you believe it is not yours, which is pointing to this idea that God's will is for us to be happy. God's will is for us to be in this deep joy. God's will is for us to know that we have and we are everything. And we're afraid to know that because we don't believe it's ours. We think that we have to earn God's love. I mean, like so many religions are based off of that. Like you have to do X, Y, and Z in order to earn God's love, in order to earn your place in heaven. Um, you name it, from any religions. Not to say any of them, but a lot of religions point to that exact idea. And this is saying that it's here, like we have it. When we give it, we remember that we have it, but we're afraid to give it because we're afraid to know it. Because if we actually knew it, our ego that is constantly searching for more to be fulfilled, to get there one day, would have to die. And I don't mean like the full obliteration of the ego because we are informed, like we do need an ego in order to survive, but we don't need to be led by the ego. And that is what would happen if we were truly willing to know God's will, if we were truly willing to know that we have absolutely everything and we are everything, then there would be nothing to get and our ego would have no role. And it would be so terrified that it had nothing to do anymore. This points exactly to that. It says you will never, the next one says you will never rest until you know your function and fulfill it. For only in this can your will and your Father's be wholly joined. You will never rest until you know your function and fulfill it. This is pointing to what the ego's favorite slogan, seek but do not find. It says you need to be looking, you need to figure it out. You need to always be somewhere other than where it is that you are. I had heard this like a long time ago, that you need to be this whole kind of what it's called, like a hedonic treadmill where it's like, climb the corporate ladder, get to the top, and then even in like spirituality and kind of these ancient wisdoms, it's always like you need to learn more, you need to know more than you do right now. And though I do think it's a necessary part of like human evolution is like to grow and expand, I also see this like obsession with growth, obsession with getting there, obsession with manifesting everything, obsession with making all the money in the world. And this is what it's pointing to. It says you will never rest until you know your function and fulfill it. And your function in fulfilling it is simply to know that you are one with God and that you have everything and you are everything. And I think that something that sounds it sounds counterintuitive because you think if I stop pursuing my life, if I stop going for it, then I'll never accomplish anything. If I stop seeking for knowledge and I just accept what is and I'm at peace with the here and now, then I won't ever do anything. I'll never amount to anything. And I think this is like actually the biggest illusion of the ego is like that's its main goal is to convince you that if you don't keep pursuing more, you'll amount to nothing. But like look at some of the greatest teachers that ever existed who received their wisdom from another source, not really from seeking it in all of the books, in all of the processes, learning every single tool, but from sitting in stillness, the Buddha, Jesus. I mean, freaking Eckhart Tolle is like here on earth and he freaking sat on a bench for like 5 years straight and did absolutely nothing. He literally did absolutely nothing, had no idea where he was going to stay each and every night, no idea how he's going to make money. And it's like some of the most profound peace and wisdom comes from doing so much less than we're told to. And that is our function. And it's not necessarily like, okay, like quit your job and like don't do anything anymore. But it's like, can you find that stillness, that connection to the all, the peace that goes beyond understanding, and recognize that your fulfillment is never going to come from what your external world can provide you. This is what some of these like Vedic traditions talk about. Like they talk about renouncing the world, renouncing your life. And at first, when I heard that, I was like, no, I love my life. Like I love the world. And after like reading and kind of like feeling more deeply into it, it's not like you hate the world and you hate your life. It's just that you recognize that the world actually can't give you anything. The the fulfillment that you're seeking, that everyone is seeking in this life, is never going to come from money. from a partner, from an experience, from anything that you can get in this world. And honestly, that broke my heart when I actually like felt the truth of that, because I had to get to that point. I was manifesting and I was having these experiences and the money and these things, and then I was like, oh my god, I figured all these techniques, and I still have this lack of fulfillment in me. And so renouncing your life, renouncing the world really means is like, can you find that fulfillment within you, within the all, within the part of you that's connected with all that is? And now your life's a freaking game. Like it doesn't matter as much. That's why you can experience so much acceptance around what is happening. That's why you can experience a challenge and it doesn't become a problem, because you no longer perceive your value as coming from something outside of you. Your value is intrinsic. It has always been and it will always be. You rest in it on the daily through your breath, being in the present moment. And now the opportunity is, how much more deeply can I rest in that peace, in that soul within me? And the life experiences aren't something to build your ego to make you feel more fulfilled and to make you feel like you're worthy in this life. The life experiences, the game that you're playing, is the opportunity to fall more deeply into your soul's essence. Because challenges, what they'll do is they'll make you think, you need to build up your ego. You need to be more confident. You need to have more accolades, all of these things. And every time you come to one of those challenges that tells you you're not enough, probably because of all the things that you did in your life or you didn't do, that's why you're not going to make it. You experience that challenge and it becomes a portal, an entrance, a doorway to remembering, oh, yeah, I don't get fulfillment out here. And over again, your life is going to come up with both. It'll come up with shiny new objects, and the shiny new object will tell you, I bet you if you travel the world, you would find that fulfillment. I bet you if you found that relationship, you would find that fulfillment. I bet you if you made this much money, you would find that fulfillment. And so what do? We go seeking for it. We either don't get it and it breaks our heart, or we do get it and it breaks our heart because we realize, oh, the fulfillment is not here, and it points us back inwards every single time. And so life now isn't about accomplishing a certain amount of accolades, but instead like putting yourself in situations where you come up against more challenges so that you can dive into your soul even deeper. For instance, I had this goal to make a $30,000 month a long time ago. And I realized I was doing it for manifestation's sake to get the money because I thought that I would reach fulfillment there. It showed me I would not reach fulfillment there. Now, kind of like full circle, I feel like I'm in the back same place again. I'm not necessarily seeking $30,000 months, but I am seeking to really expand my business right now. And it's coming from such a different place. Now I'm doing it because I want to experience more challenges that'll force me back into my soul. I want to put myself through really uncomfortable things so that I have to return to my soul, the ever present and stillness of what is. Because I notice that when things get really hectic, the way to find peace is coming to the present moment, breathing in and out, regulating my nervous system. And so if I intentionally put myself in more challenging situations, what I'm intentionally doing is forcing myself deeper into soul remembrance, that this is inherently who it is that I am. And every time I return here, I can move more and more authentically as this version of myself. This next one says that the peace of your soul lies in its limitlessness. Limit the peace you share, and your own soul must be unknown to you. I want to point to this like relationally. The second sentence says, limit the peace you share, and your own soul must be unknown to you. I heard my friend talking about her now ex yesterday, and the way that like they were talking to one another, and it really reminded me of how easy it is to see for someone to see someone make a mistake and then deem them as this type of person. I also had some experiences with friendships where people were like cast out of friend groups because they did this thing, which means they're that kind of person. And while I'm all about saying what you need and asking for what you would like within a relationship, I think this sentence really points to why it never makes sense to like completely blacklist someone for doing something. And the sentence says, limit the peace you share in your own soul must be unknown to you. So as soon as someone makes a mistake, say, like, I'll use my partner for an example. I'm going to use something like light because honestly, things have been good between us lately. So I don't really have a heavy one. But the fool never cleans his freaking car. And I tell him every single week, I'm like, hey, dude, like, you really got to clean your car. I don't like it in here. It like stinks. And like, I want to be a passenger princess. I want to be a proper passenger princess. I want to be pampered. I want it to smell good. I don't want to sit on sand or like sticky things. There's literally sometimes like just something sticky. So I could, say he's just like this and he never listens to me and he doesn't really care about what my needs are, like I could really make a story out of this and I make him like he's just this kind of person who's like stinky and dirty and like doesn't have his shit together. In the moment that I do that, I'm doing the same exact thing to myself. In the moment that I'm judging him and condemning him as this kind of person, I have to be judging and condemning myself. It doesn't have to be the same thing, but I have to be doing the same thing to myself. When I limit the peace that I share, so instead, the way that I go about it is like, you know what? The guy's a little dirty. I think I like to imagine that at some point in time, he's probably going to be less dirty. I'm not saying he's going to be like a clean freak or he'll have it all figured out. I'm not saying I'm not putting a timeline on it. I'm not saying like he has to be good by this time or else it's not going to work. But because I'm willing to see, like, you know what, at some point he'll be better, that allows me to see my own soul more clearly. My soul becomes more known to me because I see that when someone makes a mistake, it's not who they are. His soul, his essence, his beingness is, has always been, will always be. And sometimes he makes mistakes. And as soon as I'm willing to see that within him, I can feel that more deeply, more truly within myself. That I'm a soul, I am an essence. I am not a product of what I have done or what I will do or what I believe or anything like that. It's my beingness and my essence that is who I am. So this again, we just want to repeat that first sentence. The peace of your soul lies in its limitlessness. And that goes for everything. Like there's shitty things going on in the world right now. And again, like not to say like you should just be like, oh, it's okay, everything's fine. Like, no, everything's not fine. And the people who are committing these atrocities are still children of God. They are still love at their core and they're making mistakes. And that's it. And I think that honestly is like such a deep spiritual practice. Like if you could look at the people you hate, whether they're in your life or they're people in the government that you think are doing really corrupt things and still like genuinely believe like like Donald Trump probably was had a very traumatic childhood in some capacity and like while I don't believe in a lot of the things that he does, I don't think that he is inherently evil. I don't think that he has gone past a point where he could never be find love again and move in a different way. And as soon as I condemn someone as inherently evil, I deny them the opportunity to actually heal from it. This is especially, you could see it within your interpersonal relationships. As soon as I go, Matt is just a dirty person and he's always going to be like that, I am literally condemning him to that. Now he will feel that and move in that way. He will reflect back to me what it is that I believe about him. Um, and I think that's so important. And I want to invite you either now or at some point to like notice like where have you created a script or a story for someone in your life like, oh, this is just who they are. They're just like this. And are you willing to relinquish that story and see them as as just like children who probably went through some traumas and because of those traumas made some decisions, and those decisions have nothing to do with you. They're not out to get you. They're just a reflection of where that person is hurt. And when you're willing to see the love that is within them, it's like you crack open a door that allows them to see that maybe they don't have to be that way. Maybe they don't have to be have that protector up all the time. The next sentence says that the ego analyzes, the Holy Spirit accepts. The appreciation of wholeness comes only through acceptance. For to analyze means to separate out. Keep referring back to my call yesterday with my friend, but one of the things that we talked about was like she was like replaying stuff in her head of like, oh, should I have said it that way? Should I have done it this way? And like, what's gonna happen? Like analyzing. And I used to take a lot of pride in my logical mind. I used to be like, I'm super logical and I can analyze. And while I think there's a space for it, I think the Western mind idolizes logic and analyzing. And I don't think it's as important as we've made it. In fact, the sentence literally says the ego analyzes, the Holy Spirit accepts. It also reminds me, Alyssa, of that woman that you sent a video of so long ago that had a stroke and she completely lost access to the part of her brain that analyzes. And she just was spirit. And she was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I mean, she couldn't like speak and like things, it was problematic, but she had never experienced so much bliss and joy and connectedness with all that is, which essentially, like, if we talk about muscles, like we have just strengthened the wrong muscle as a society for too long. We've placed so much intention and attention on the logic mind of, yeah, realistically speaking, then it would make sense to do this and this and this and this, and like completely lost touch with this deep spiritual essence that at some points in humanity we paid so much attention to. And again, like in other cultures and places, there is more attention to it. So it's not that it's lost. It's just that, at least like living in America, I see a crazy attention to the ego. What is it that I'm going to be perceived as? What are the steps that I need to take in order to be perceived in that way? How can I accomplish these specific accolades to get? That is what the ego cares about. Analyzing how I can manipulate situations so that I can get what I want. It says the Holy Spirit accepts. The appreciation of wholeness comes only through acceptance. For to analyze means to separate out. This is like my biggest revelation that I had. In learning how to manifest and learning all the neuroscience and I one time almost brought myself to the brink of insanity because I was using all of this neuroscience to get what I wanted. And I was like so in my brain that I was constantly thinking, what do I need to be thinking right now in order to get and I was constantly analyzing my emotions, everything that I felt. I was like literally like making myself insane for the sake of manifestation, for the sake of rewiring neural pathways. And this message from Course in Miracles blew my mind. It essentially just like crumbled everything that I thought that I believed, because it was like, no, like you don't need to analyze anything at all. if you're trying to figure it out, you're operating from ego. And when you operate from stillness, you accept. And as soon as you accept, you become one with the divine. Divine gets to move through you. All of a sudden, you get a freaking idea. All of a sudden, you know what to do. Why? Was it in your brain? No, it was never going to be in your brain. It was something that finally you allowed through you. I really, really love that sentence. That this simply put, the ego analyzes, the Holy Spirit accepts. And what I want to install is like anytime you're trying to figure it out, stop. Stop. Breathe in and out of your nose, arrive to your body, tap, do whatever it is that you want to come here and now and stop trying to figure it out. It's like the scariest thing because your ego wants you to figure it out because it believes if you figure it out, then you'll feel a sense of safety, but it's not true. Like you won't actually figure anything out that's productive for you. All right, we only have a few more. This one's a longer one. It says, the world as you perceive it cannot have been created by the Father, for the world is not as you see it. God created only the eternal, and everything you see is perishable. Therefore, there must be another world which you do not see. The Bible speaks of a new heaven and a new earth, yet this cannot be literally true, for the eternal are not recreated. To perceive anew is merely to perceive again, implying that before, or in the interval, you are not perceiving at all. What then is the world that awaits your perception when you see it? Oh my God, I love this song so much. Okay, so, oh shoot. So I'm just going to repeat that one part of it. It says that the Bible speaks of a new heaven and a new earth, yet this cannot literally be true, for the eternal are not recreated. So there's a movie called Mary Magdalene or Magdalene. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I highly, highly recommend it um if you're curious about Jesus from a lens that's not just Christianity. Um and one of the things that really stood out to me in that is when Jesus died, a lot of his followers were expecting heaven on earth, like a shift to happen externally. Like they thought there was going to be like waterfalls and gold and, you know, like they would not be like slaves or anything like that anymore. And Mary knew what Jesus was talking about. He was like saying that the kingdom of heaven is within you and showed her, and she began to experience it. But all the other followers were like, oh, shoot, he must have meant later. We need to keep spreading the message because it didn't happen yet. And no, Mary was like, no, like it has happened. It is here now. And this is literally exactly pointing to that. It says that the Bible speaks of a new heaven and new earth, but this cannot literally be true, for the eternal cannot be recreated. So it's like something that is eternal can't be created because it already is. And so a new heaven and a new earth doesn't mean something comes from out of the blue because it already is. What is new about it is that we are perceiving anew, that we are perceiving again, implying that before we were not perceiving at all. And then it begs the question, what then is the world that awaits your perception when you see it? I really love this idea of like just like getting curious of what then, what would be perceiving, what would it be to perceive anew? What would it be to exist in heaven on earth? And simply and thinking that thought, you and I thinking that thought of like, what would it be like to perceive heaven on earth? And knowing that it wouldn't be things that are like a snap of the finger, and then all of a sudden there's like world peace, right? Because we're here and we're now, and recognizing that it's not something new, but it's just a new way to perceive. What would that be? And what would that be is acceptance, being with what is, enjoying the present moment, existing in the only moment that has ever and will ever exist. And in doing so, we strengthen that connection to the divine. All of a sudden, we start taking action like we're fearless, like nothing can stop us. And then what does happen is we do start to see changes in our physical world. We see less war and fear and danger because we stopped moving from our ego mind and we started moving from this God mind, from this connection. This one says that the Bible tells you to become as little children, because little children recognize that they do not understand what they perceive, and so they ask what it means, which again is like that last sentence. What then is the world that awaits your perception when you see it? When we move from curiosity, like, I don't know. What is it supposed to be like? Instead of the ego that says it's supposed to be this way, and if it's not this way, you won't be happy and bad things will happen. We're just like, interesting. I wonder what's going to happen next. I wonder what this means. And not, again, like trying to figure it out, but just being willing to recognize, like, we don't understand. We don't understand so much of the why the world works in the way that it does, and why are things happening in this certain moment at a certain time. And so we ask, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say? And to whom? What does this mean? This last one says, do not then be deceived in your brother, and see only his loving thoughts and his reality. For by denying that his mind is split, you will heal yours. Kind of returns back to what we were talking about relationally before. Do not be deceived in your brother, which means don't see someone that's fucking up and be like, oh no, they're fucking up. Life isn't going well. Um, the world's going to shit. We're never gonna survive, whatever. And it says, only see his loving thoughts and his reality. Only see, consciously choose to only see the love that is within another and his reality. And his reality just means his soul, the truth of who he is. For by denying that his mind is split, you will heal yours. When we believe that someone's mind is split, meaning that they're kind of evil, but they're kind of good, we become controlled by that because we think that that's the same as us, that we have like a devil and an angel and we're constantly being pulled in either direction. But when we see that the ultimate reality is that we are only love, that is the essence of who we are, that is our soul, and we see the negative thoughts, the fear patterns as just that. They're just patterns. The way that I like to see this is like, it's kind of like I think of it like an entity, but I don't think of it in like a demonic like way where it has power in any sense. It's almost like a little like black gooey thing that's like, oh, got some of this on me. Oops, take it off. It's like these are, oh, I have a limiting belief that got stuck to me from generations ago. That's crazy. Okay, get rid of that. It's not who I am. It's not that I am kind of evil and that I'm kind of good. It's that I have these conditioned beliefs that have been a little bit sticky, but that the truth of who I am is my soul and is my essence. Now, I want to leave you with that question of what then is the world that awaits your perception when you see it? What is heaven on earth? And what would it be like to exist in it? Obviously, it's lovely to imagine, best case scenarios and like everyone is abundant and wealthy and like that is so beautiful. But like the most important thing about manifestation is feeling the feeling of the wish fulfilled. What would it feel like to exist in that state? And that state, that feeling of the wish fulfilled is the pointer to what it is that you are meant to operate and how it is that you are meant to move now. And in doing so, you not only create heaven on earth for within your own reality, but you also perpetuate it and create it for all of human consciousness, all of collective humanity. Um, yeah, I think that's a really, really amazing question to cap this off. Now, I want to open up the door for some discussion. I saw you guys jotting things down today, so I want to hear from you guys. What questions or what came up for you?